Welcome, grade 9 math. Here we are at lesson 3, our final installment, example 3. As you can see, my production people have put me through wardrobe and makeup and in an attempt to improve the ratings. So without further ado, here we go. All right. So what we're working on is example 3, page 291. Again, if you want to follow along in the textbook. So in my first one, A, they give me the inequality. T is greater than -5. And what they've asked me to do is to graph it and to come up with 4 possible solutions. So in order to make the graph for t is greater than -5, I draw, so what it really is a number line. And in the middle of my number line, I put the -5 that they've given me. Then I put 2 numbers on each side of it. So getting larger, I would have -4 and -3. Getting smaller, I would have -6 and -7. So in my case, I start off by going right to the -5. I'm going to put in a hollow circle, because the hollow circle indicates that it's like a greater than or a less than, but it doesn't have the equal section to it. So t needs to be larger than -5. So my larger will be going to my right. So I draw my line in with my arrows. And that's the graph. So this shows t is greater than -5. So when I look at possible answers, they ask for 4 different possible answers. I don't know, I could say -4 works. -3 would work. Out beyond, I could say -2 works. Or I could say way out beyond, I don't know, 5. Or anything in between those numbers. So for B, B looks a little different than I normally write them. I normally have my variable on the left-hand side, but it can be either way. So what I have here is -2 is greater than or equal to x. If I was to write that the other way, and I just kind of want to point that out because it's your options, I could also write that as x. I look at my sign that I have here. All right, let me see. And I draw it in the same way, like it's pointing at the x. I'm going to point it at the x and put my -2 here. So -2 is greater than or equal to x, or x is less than or equal to -2 is exactly the same thing. Both are correct, and it's just an option that you could do. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, look at theirs again. Well, I'll leave it because they both do graph the same way. So here's my graph. Again, I start in the middle. I go with -2, -1, 0, -3, -4. So I go to my -2, put my circle in. Because it's greater than or equal to, the equal is the key. it gets colored in. So negative 2 will be greater than x. So negative 2 must be greater than x. So that means that my x will go this way. So let's look at some possible answers that I could have in there. I could have, well, what? Obviously negative 3, negative 4. I could have negative 3.5. I could have negative 10. There's an endless possibilities of answers that we can use in that. So that's A and B. So have a look at C. 0.5 is less than or equal to A. So we'll do our graph. In my middle, I have 0.5. Over here, I'm going to go with 1, and I'll go with 2. Or maybe I'll go with, we'll make each one of these be a half, 1.5. So over here, I would have negative 1 and negative 1.5. So start off by putting my circle in. Again, this case we have is also an equal to. So A is going to be greater than 0.5. Okay. So possible answers. So 0.5 is less than or equal to A. So I could go with, I don't know. How about 0.51? That's larger than 0.5. Obviously, I could go with 0.5 because I got an equal sign in. Or I could go with 2. Or I could go with 1.5. They all fit for that. My last one, D. P is less than negative 25.3. Couple different ways to do that one. See, the first way I did it, I went in and put my negative 25 over 3 in. So getting larger, negative 24 over 3, negative 23 over 3. Getting smaller, negative 26 over 3, negative 27 over 3. So P needs to be less than negative 25 over 3. No equal into this one, so a hollow dot. So it must be less than, so it's got to go to the left-hand side. So that fits my bill for that. What kind of numbers could I use for possibilities? Oh, I could do, well, obviously, negative 26 over 3, negative 27 over 3, negative 28 over 3, negative 29 over 3. All of them kind of fit the bill. Another way that I could choose to do this is I could take this improper fraction and turn it into a mixed number. So how do I do that? I would have negative 25 divided by 3. And when I do that, I'm going to come out and I'm going to have negative 8 and 1/3. And this is the way that they did it in the textbook. So now I'm dealing with the same thing, except now I'll have p is less than negative 8 and 1/3. When I do my number line for that, I would put negative 8 in the middle. Smaller, I'll have negative 9, negative 10. Larger, negative 7, negative 6. Now, when I go to put in my negative 8 and 1/3, I'm really just going to estimate where it's going. Like I'm going to try to break it in thirds here. So that would be about there. And so P will be less than negative 8 and 1/3. So again, the same thing. My answers, like 4 possible answers, what I can negative 9, negative 10. What else could I have? I could have negative 8.5, or I don't know, negative 100. Way, 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 way out here. But it all works. All right. Now that we've done that, this is the work that questions I want you to do out of the textbook for it. So do page 292 plus 293. And you're going to be doing questions 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And again, I'm not giving you answers because like the other questions that you've done, you can go right into the back of the textbook and get your answers there because they're so straightforward. So that'll be the last part of example or lesson 3. All right. Have a good one, guys.